Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Town Council meeting of February 18th, 2025 to order. And for those who are able, if you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councillor Buganski.
Present.
Councillor Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Balboni. Councillor Carey.
Present.
Mayor Delnicki.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Present.
Councillor King. Here. Councillor Fitzgerald. Here. Councillor Pendleton.
Thank you, Madison. Okay, I just have a couple of announcements regarding South Windsor High School students. For those who haven't seen it, there was an article in the Bobcat Prowl about South Windsor High School's Choral Spectrum. South Windsor High School's Choral Spectrum competed at the Tantascwa Show Choir Competition on February 8th at Tantascwa Regional High School in Massachusetts. They were one of 5 teams in the large mixed division competing against Andover High School, Daniel Hand High School, Lowell High School, and Waltham High School. It was Choral Spectrum's first competition of the season, but it was their opponent's second, giving other teams the advantage of prior judges' feedback. Even with that disadvantage, South Windsor received a gold medal, the highest recognition available, and 3rd place overall in the division. Student leader Kailu Sakala, solo in Soul Sound System, captivated the audience with his high energy and ad-libs, leading up to the group's first big dance break. The group also earned a Judges Award, Super Sliders, recognizing their strong choreography. Congratulations to Choral Spectrum. And 6 South Windsor High School students were selected as candidates for the 2025 U.S. Presidential Scholars Program by the White House Commission of Presidential Scholars. This program recognizes and honors distinguished graduating high school seniors for their broad academic achievement and exceptional SAT or ACT scores. The honorees from South Windsor are Satvik Kadapanavar, Mira Kanan, Roger Mayo, Shriti Rajan, Jeremy Shiju, and Daniel Stoyanov. Congratulations to these outstanding students for their remarkable achievements. Okay, thank you. And moving on to item 5, Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion, changes? Councillor Fitzgerald.
I just had a quick question. In the packet that we got, was this tabbed? And I was just wondering, is this part of the agenda?
It goes with the items regarding the just backup information for the Park and Rec discussions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, communications and reports from the town manager, Mr. Maniscalco.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of our grand list growth, the town of South Windsor's assessor has completed the grand list and has recorded a 0.14% increase this year. As many of you will note, that is significantly less than in previous years. As has been discussed in previous meetings, the town's grand list faced significant headwinds as a result of changes made by the state legislature to the way we value motor vehicles, snowmobiles, residential trailers, which dropped their values by 10%. I think it is important to note that despite these challenging times, the property assessment was up 0.47% due to new construction and increased value. As a result, South Windsor is one of what I'm going to guess will be only a few communities that will be able to show actual grand list growth this year. The governor's budget and state funding. The governor released his budget on February 5th. South Windsor has received an evaluation of that budget proposal from CCM, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, which was shared with the town council. In the proposal, all state funding is proposed to remain flat from last year. It is important to note that this is not the final number for state funding, since the legislature will now meet to work on the state's budget. These numbers can change, and we most likely will not see the final budget and numbers until the end of May, which I think it's important to note is after the time that our budget needs to be completed. ECHN hospital bankruptcy. The ECHN hospitals owned by Prospect, a company out of California, is currently in the process of filing bankruptcy. This has the potential of impacting many of the communities in the surrounding area, including South Windsor. Currently, Prospect owes South Windsor $44,000 in property taxes. I had the opportunity to participate in some discussions last week with other community leaders related to the potential impacts of this bankruptcy and what, if any, local governments can do. At this time, there's still not much more to evaluate. There's still more to evaluate, and in the event there is any potential action for South Windsor that we could take on this matter, I'll report back to all of you, but I wanted to get it on your radar just in case. On February 10th, the police department held a promotions and award ceremony. At this ceremony, 3 officers were promoted. We're planning to introduce those 3 individuals that were promoted at a town council meeting next month. More impressive was the countless officers in the department who were recognized for their actions to save lives, keep people safe, and to further promote the skills and abilities of the department. The South Windsor community should feel very proud to have such a well-rounded, diverse, and high-quality police department. I'd like to commend all those who received an award and congratulate those who were promoted. On February 6th, the town held its bond sale for $14 million due to South Windsor's quality ranking with Standard & Poor and some luck in the markets. We're pleased to report that we secured a 3.305% interest rate. This far exceeded the performance of our financial advisor's prediction of 3.5%, so that was great news. And lastly, we've entered a pattern of snow and winter operations over the last 2 weeks. Public Works staff have been working tirelessly overnight and during the day, as well as on the weekends, to keep our streets safe and passable. I would like to pass along my appreciation to all of them for the long hours and hard work they're putting in. I think, as all of you probably noted from some of the emails I sent over the weekend to all of you, there's quite a bit of skill and thought that goes into the process of actually plowing our streets. And there was some conscious decisions made through this last storm to actually hold off on plowing to allow the ice to accumulate on top of the snow, so it would be easier to remove once the icing had stopped. So I do want to pass along my appreciation to all the individuals at Public Works for that work. I'd be happy to take any questions the council has.
Councilor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, I apologize for not giving you heads up for my questions. I didn't really have them until just now, but could you put a dollar number, the 0.14 increase this year? Or in the future, for someone that's more simple like me, could you provide dollar amounts?
Sure, I will get you a dollar amount for that. That'll definitely be a part of my budget presentation when we get to that point, but at this point with her proposal, I'll get you an actual dollar amount though.
Okay, and a thought in the form of a question is can we, with the ECHN, would it be possible that we can regain some property and some real estate in lieu of, we said forget the 44,000, we'll just keep the property?
So I think the way the statute works is we could foreclose on the properties for the taxes that are owed, or we could go through like a tax sale, something of that nature. But that takes some time, and it would actually probably we would want to let it get to a more significant amount than the 44,000. So. Yep.
Councilor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, how is our salt supply doing?
I believe we received a new load of salt over the weekend, so we should be doing okay. I haven't heard any concerns from the staff yet. I know we have some more weather coming in on Thursday. A number of years back, we did have some issues with salt supplies for municipalities. That was due to the state of Connecticut swooping in and purchasing all the salt out from underneath a lot of the municipalities. We have a contract, I believe it's with the docks down in New Haven, to get our salt deliveries. And, you know, we make a phone call, they show up and they drop it off. So I'm pretty confident we're in a good spot, but I will be following up as we get closer to Thursday for sure.
And how do we usually purchase the salt? Do we have, is it kind of like, you know, like you have an oil company that comes and delivers oil to your house? Like, is it just like throughout the year, or?
So we purchase off of the contract through the Capital Region Council of Governments, and essentially, you know, throughout the year as we need it, we call and we have deliveries made, and we pay for those truckloads as they come in, which is the proposed or bid price that we receive.
Is there any advantage to, like, buying it like in the summertime when it's not high demand in the winter and just having it stored over at the facility, or, you know?
Right, so that's what we do. So we do store a significant amount of salt in our salt shed. Unfortunately, because of the way salt is, you can't just have it, a large load dumped and have it out in the open. You would need some type of facility to keep it in. So the town does have a fairly large salt shed. I think we probably get about a storm, maybe storm and a half out of the supply that we have in that shed. So we do try to make sure that shed is full during the summertime, so that way we're buying at a lower time in the season, but we just don't have the capacity to have a supply for the entire season.
Cool, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. On the topic of salt, I appreciate Mr. Maniscalco. I reached out. I knew that we had the ability as residents to go fill up, I think it's like a bucket or two. It's definitely the honor system for residential use only. So just want to make the public aware. It's the Burgess Road facility, right? There's a green hoop house that you can go in, fill up a bucket. And again, just be mindful of other people in town. I think you're asking that probably because a lot of the stores, you couldn't find salt anywhere the last couple days. I imagine we get the first dibs as a municipality, like you said, straight from the dock. But for those at home that are having an issue finding salt, it's more of like a salt sand mixture, right?
Correct.
So a little more sloppy than probably what you're gonna get out of a bag of ice melt from the store, but it's free. It's, you know, you pay taxes to be able to utilize things like that. So definitely go down, fill up a bucket, bring one over to your mother or father's house or your son or daughter's house too. But again, just be mindful. Don't be filling up a pickup truck. Is that area like monitored by
We
cameras
do
or-
have
Yeah,
we do
so-
have people that are monitoring it.
And again, it's residential use only, so I appreciate you giving me that info. I was able to point that out to a lot of people the last couple days.
Sure.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, moving on, thank you. Moving on to item 7, public input for items on the agenda. Public input shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging an improper motive to any person. The speakers may address the council on any item on the agenda. The speakers shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. Anyone like to come forward at this time for items on the agenda? You can come up to the microphone. Thank you. Yep. Toby, Councilor Lewis? And did you sign in, Ms. Favreau?
No, I did not.
Thank you.
Where do I sign? There's 3 sheets here. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Favreau, and I live at 446 Pleasant Valley Road. I'm here tonight to bring before the council my request not only as a citizen, but also as a member of the South Windsor Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission, a request to install an electronic door opener on the internal basement door that leads to the Greater Windsor Probate Court, the Registrar of Voters' Office, and 2 public meeting rooms. The current door requires manual opening to gain entry to these spaces, which makes it very difficult for persons who use wheelchairs or other mobility devices. Further, this door exceeds the ADA poundage requirement of 5 pounds of pressure for opening, by almost 3 times that level. But more than that, even if the pressure of the door is adjusted to the proper ADA requirement, pulling open and then holding the door open while trying to navigate a wheelchair through the door is difficult, if not impossible, to do. If an individual is using another mobility device, such as a walker or crutches, the same difficulty to access is encountered. In fact, when this issue was first raised before our commission in November of 2023, one of our members commented that he had a meeting to attend in one of the public meeting rooms while temporarily using crutches, and in fact found it extremely difficult to get through this door. Our town hall has undergone extensive renovations since 2023, and there have been several significant and much-needed ADA improvements made as part of that renovation. However, this simple door, which is probably original to the building, remains an impediment to accessible entry to these important public spaces in our town hall. A quick search on Amazon shows the cost for an electric door opener to be between $700 and $1,600 with a quick turnaround for delivery. Therefore, it's my request, and it is the request of our commission, that this barrier to usage by persons using wheelchairs or other mobility devices be addressed expeditiously. I'd like to leave the council with a final thought. We are all just one accident away from being disabled. And I believe that none of us would want someone we know or even don't know struggle to obtain access to these important spaces in our building just because of the difficulty to open a simple door. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Favreau. Anyone else like to come forward at this time? Mr. Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy, 81 Allison Drive. First, I'd like to thank the council for 13E. With Agricultural Commission is redoing our ordinance. It's tough. I've been 25 years on commissions, and when you're chair and you have to have 7 people and you only have 6, it makes it tough. I think I appreciate all the, oops, sorry. Wow. When you have to when you have to have a quorum and you're one short, or if your ordinance specifies you need a banker, you need a financial planner, you need an environmental specialist, by taking away these items, someone else it'd be easier to replace. So I just thank you for your help, and that's it. And always remember, support your local businesses, farm stands, and farmers market.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Anyone else like to come forward at this time?
Good evening. Mark Palmer, 1035 Foster Street Extension.
What was your name again, please?
Mark Palmer.
Thank you.
Tonight I bring a petition from our residents on our street. This is a petition to address excessive traffic and speeding on Foster Street Extension. We, the residents of Foster Street Extensions, are deeply concerned about the high volume of traffic and frequent speeding on our street. This poses serious safety risks to pedestrians, cyclists, children, and negatively impacts our quality of life. We request immediate action to this issue. I've lived on the street for a little over 30 years. Of course, traffic has gotten a lot worse than it was in the past. Since I've been here, I
Oh,
know,
Mr. Palmer, this is for items that are on the agenda. I
oh,
apologize.
that's what I was going to ask. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, I apologize. My deputy mayor just reminded me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if it was time for off the agenda or not.
No, it's, that's item 15, the items that are not on the agenda.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
Yeah, I apologize for not catching it either.
That's okay.
So if you want to wait until item 15 comes up on the agenda?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for items on the agenda? Anyone else for items on the agenda? Seeing none, moving on to item 8. Counselor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of the minutes of our previous meeting of February 3rd, 2025.
Any discussion, changes? Okay, I have changes for item 13C. Under the roll call vote for 13C was the Board of Education contract discussion. It should read for the 5 yeses should be Bugansky, Lewis, Balboni, Delnicki, and Siracusa. And the no votes were Carey, King, Fitzgerald, and Pendleton. They were kind of all bundled up. Those are the only things that I found. Any other? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda minutes as amended? Opposed? Okay, motion carries as amended. Moving on to item 9, communications, liaisons, officers, boards directly responsible to the council. Councilor Carey.
So 2 meetings. One was planning and zoning, and I think the important point to make note of is that the public hearing on the solar farm has remained open. The planning and zoning commissioners had a number of questions that they had asked the representative from the solar farm to answer, and they did not feel that they had gotten adequate answers, and they had some additional questions. So it is remaining open until next meeting. And then the other thing is the Energy Committee met today, and what they found is that the charger at the library is being used on a kind of regular basis. They were happy about that. And that was about all.
Councilor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the Parks and Rec Committee, the Parks discussed the importance of updating a master plan to support both new projects and the maintenance of existing facilities, and they'll begin that at their next meeting. They are eager for the council to approve a referendum for the facility renovations, especially due to the importance of the ADA requirements being met in a timely manner. There was a lively discussion about how to best advocate for the department to receive the necessary funding for continued maintenance and growth.
That's it? Seeing nothing further. Item 10, reports from committees. Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Thank you. Capital was supposed to meet tomorrow. That meeting is most likely going to, well, it's already been canceled, but it's most likely going to be reset for sometime next week. It looks like Tuesday. We're just going to be discussing maybe shifting around a couple of the items that we approved for this upcoming year's budget. So it should be a pretty quick meeting. But I appreciate all the hard work that comes out of that committee, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you. Moving on to 11A1, Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve item 11A1 as a first reading on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to 11B, Counselor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion to approve 11B1 through 11B2 as a second reading on the consent agenda.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 11C, miscellaneous, having none. Item 12, unfinished business, having none. Moving on to 13A, discussion item, ADA accessibility, Town Hall backdoor employee entrance, requested by Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The discussion came up during the last Social Justice and Racial Equity meeting, which was last week, and obviously we've already heard from Sister Janice. However, we'd love to have Mr. Major come up to discuss the letter that he might have received, as well as the ADA accessibility, and also if Sister Janice can answer any questions that the council may have in regards to it. Appreciate you. So, bluntly, obviously, she has a question in regards to the door downstairs. Can we, can't we?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the request. As I pointed out, I believe I'm trying to identify, first and foremost, the true barriers to accessibility in all town buildings. That particular door in question, we have tested the door. The door does pull at 5 pounds, which is the requirement, 5 pounds or less, and that's after the initial inertia of opening the door. So it is at 5 pounds. All the other regulations around that door are being met at this time. I don't want to say no, right? But what I do want to do is address those things that we could be liable for if we don't make those fixes based on what the current regulations state. So although this is something that we could do down the road, I don't want to start doing things based on an individual request that are currently buried right now.
So to that end, if you don't mind, Madam Mayor.
No, go ahead.
So how do we, for lack of better wording, so if it's too hot in here, we get HVAC. We fixed the windows, we did all of that. I remember ARPA funds, we used them. We have a situation in which, and we have a number of people that we probably all know that either wheelchair accessible or whatever, all of our meetings, except for these, are downstairs. So how do we justify making sure that we're nice and comfy here and not justify the fact that for our town members who have to meet down there or that have to do business downstairs may not be able to get in? I get what you're saying, but down the road doesn't seem feasible in regards to our residents that have situations now.
So my question to you would be, how do I address any other scenario that somebody brings up that they think may be an issue which really isn't an issue per the regulations? How do we address those issues? That's my quandary. That's my, right? That's my dilemma here.
So I think, and I don't want to misquote, there's a difference between being right and doing right. The doing right piece would be, okay, how do we make this work? We know we have more than one resident. I mean, we got, Lord knows, more senior facilities than I could shake a stick at, almost more than Philadelphia. However, we have to take that into account. A lot of those individuals, wheelchairs, elderly, have to pull the door, whatever. I don't care the age. My point is, there is a difference between doing right and being right. You're absolutely right. Everything may be ADA compliant. However, doing right would suggest, okay, if we have somebody that has a mechanical chair, they're trying to get in, they have to do business downstairs with the probate court or what have you, they can't get in. Or even if they can pull it, they still have to figure out a way to maneuver. So I guess that would be, and that's why it's just a discussion item. It's not something, and maybe it's something that we need to think about even with our budget. Again, you know, that's kind of where we're at, I believe.
So let me throw this at you.
Yes, please.
There's 7 bathrooms in the community center.
Okay.
None of them, well, I take that back. Excuse me. The community center did pay for operators on some of the doors because the seniors wanted them.
Right.
So do we do every bathroom because the seniors want them? Do we do every bathroom in town hall? Do we do every bathroom at the police department? Do we do every, you see where I'm going?
I do.
Because this
and
could snowball. And I'm not, I want to make this clear, I'm not against it. I just don't know where to stop.
Right. And I think the difference is if we have one bathroom that's downstairs that is accessible, but we do the majority of our business downstairs and it's not, then that's the issue. I mean, you just said yourself, it's 5 pounds, okay, and we know that things, at least in the past 4 weeks, have been changing dramatically all over the place. So 5 pounds could all of a sudden change to 7 pounds, 10 pounds. I'm just saying, is there a way to find a way to ensure that the residents of our community, all of them to a certain extent, and I won't beat a dead horse, and I thank the counselors for allowing me this time, to do right and say, okay, you know what? We need to find a way to do it. If it's a budget item, okay, cool. We can have that discussion. But again, like I said, when it got hot in here, you know, those ARPA funds were used up real quick to make sure that we had the air conditioner, to make sure that we had the windows and all those other types of things. And maybe that's something that we perhaps should have considered the past as prologue. So it's come up, something to probably keep in the rear of your mind, because heaven forbid, as Sister Jan said, we're all just one accident away, especially with this ice, you know. And next thing you know, and I find that this is true, that it doesn't affect us until it affects us. And then when your significant other says, honey, I had work to do in there, but I couldn't get in, then you might feel a little differently, perhaps. So I appreciate it. Thank you, counselors.
Thank you, Councilor King. Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Thank you, Mr. Major. A question I would have for you would be, I know we've talked about ADA compliance quite a bit, both in here and then with capital projects. Would an issue be that you currently have a large number of ADA compliant issues in town that you have to get to that you know are an issue? And it's hard maybe to prioritize something that I know what you're saying is I understand people need that, but to you and your job, what you do is it currently is by code compliant. Is that like the impasse that you're at, where you currently have all these other projects that we're trying to handle that we actually need to get up to compliance, to where, you know, how do you jump a project up in front of those items that aren't necessarily in your mind, you know, needing to get done at this point? Do you have like a number of current ADA issues that you need to tackle right now on the top of your head, just a round number?
I'm tackling 2 large accessible route engineering projects right now, both at the VMP and at the police department. I just today got the final engineering and bid documents for the police department. That probably won't kick off for a bit yet, only because the summer's a little iffy with timing in a project like that. And then the Veterans Memorial Park, that's still in engineering phase right now. That will address both the lower and upper parking lots. But you know, I'm going to be honest with you in that I could get, if you all said to me, get the door done, I'd get the door done. That's the bottom line, right? I'm here to do a job for the citizens. I want to do the right job for the citizens. As a director of facilities, I have to also tell you the truth around the matter. So that's where I stand, I guess, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's like a moral impasse of you got to do your job, but you also understand that there's people that need things to get done. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is $700 to $1,600 realistic if we were to try and make any adaptations? To me, that sounds...
Probably more than that, only because, you know, if with electrical, if you replace the door and the door is original, like Ms. Favreau said, I believe it's original anyway, you'd probably want to replace the frame because the frame is rusted. You know, if you add those things into it, yes, most definitely. The closers, she's probably right on just the closer itself and the operator, but the install costs are probably double that anyway.
Thank you. I agree with Councilor King to where we need to allow things to be accessible for everybody. And I see your point is everything can't be a priority because you have to pick and choose what you do. And the door right now is ADA compliant. So it doesn't seem to be the highest of priorities when there's other pressing things. At the same time, I would encourage citizens is if you're going to meetings is stick around and see if you can help somebody enter the building. You know, there's nothing like a neighbor helping, holding the door. In the meantime, let's make sure we're safe. We're all on, no one does a one-man committee. So in the meantime, we can practice some neighborhood kindness and some caring while we serve on these committees until we can fix the problem in the long term.
Deputy Mayor?
While we're on the topic of the use downstairs, I have personally seen folks have to go with a cane that are serving on boards and commissions that meet downstairs. Is there a reason why we can't have that door unlocked when there is a meeting going on? Because I have received complaints that, not from the folks, like they're willing to serve, and I don't think people should have to either park down there and then walk up the ramp and walk, you know, through the front door.
They shouldn't have to, because the upper lot is the accessible route, which has the parking in an accessible route with a ramp to the front door.
Correct, but then maybe after the meeting, I guess, I know in the past we have had those doors unlocked down there when there are meetings. Is there a reason why that changed?
So the back door was put on a door schedule and locked based on the recommendation of the police department, as we should only have one in and one, or multiple exits, but one entrance to the building for security purposes. We have since, I believe, put a schedule on the door for like, and don't hold me to it, like 7 to 7:15 on Thursday night or Wednesday night. There is a schedule somewhere in there. It's not my memory. I have to go look at the system and see where this door schedule is. That unlocks the door for those 15 minutes for a 7 o'clock meeting, whether it's 15 before 7 or 7 to 7:15, I forget what it is, but there is an unlocked schedule at night for meetings. I don't know if it's every night, but I know there is an unlocked schedule in that back door.
Okay.
And it's not for long. It's not for long.
Okay. Maybe that's another discussion that needs to be had, and maybe we can see what that recommendation was from the police department and why. Obviously, if they have an issue, then it's definitely something to not take lightly, but I think probably those folks that maybe use a cane and they're thinking, well, I'm gonna park down here because after a long meeting of sitting down, you know, however long some of these meetings go on forever, you know, maybe I'll just scoot out the back door after the meeting. So again, you know, hopefully folks in these boards and commissions understand that, you know, maybe this guy arrives at 5:30 every time, maybe I'll wait and hold the door open, but I would like to potentially, I know it's sort of related, but I would like to look into that further to see if we can maybe get back to the way we used to do it. And
You have to remember there's a balance, especially in the climate that we're in today.
yeah,
The police department made the recommendation for a reason.
yeah,
And it's come up in the past, and that's why we did unlock it for a very short period of time. But there's a balance there, right? You gotta balance security, the safety with somebody who needs or wants to park out back.
yeah.
As opposed to parking in the front where there's, you know, accessible parking, accessible ramp, accessible entrance.
That's fair. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I just do have a comment. If you can just look at your schedule, of your ADA schedule, where this can fit in. I mean, reprioritize where you think it could fit in. Other than that,
And you want it done, and that's what the priority would be.
okay, I'll meet with you.
If you don't mind me jumping in, I think at the end of the day, we have, you know, facilities throughout the town that are significantly old, let's just be frank, and don't meet ADA requirements. There's probably enough work for Mr. Majors to do ADA required work for years to come. So to say where that door would fall on that list is probably going to be very difficult, and it's going to be probably fairly disheartening to some individuals. I think the big challenge that we have is when you take a door that currently meets ADA requirements and we compare it to a facility somewhere else that does not, that's a true liability, whereas that door is not at this time. And I understand the frustration that people may have seeing it as not being as easily accessible as they may want it to be. But we have a true liability when something does not meet the ADA code. We have to address that first. And unfortunately, it's like capital in our community. We have $90 million of capital projects that we probably could take on if we really wanted to, but we can't do all of them. We need to prioritize the ones that are the most important to us first. So that's the scenario that Mr. Majors is faced with. I understand and I feel bad that, you know, some people are upset over the door downstairs. There's a security issue with the exterior door that has been recommended very, very bluntly by the police department, that it needs to remain locked during working hours, locked during the evening hours. We tried to strike a balance by having it open at certain times so that way people can get in and out for certain meetings. You know, unfortunately, this is not a building that was built in 2025. It's a building that was built in 1968. And this is what we're stuck with. So we're doing the best that we can to try to meet the needs of the required codes that are out there. And as soon as we can say that we've met those code requirements, we will then address the other issues after that. But, you know, I think it's going to be a long road for us to get there.
Deputy Mayor?
One more quick question. Is there an issue or a requirement for that door even being there in the first place? Is it like an HVAC issue, or could that just be an open hallway?
So, like every door, in front, back, whatever, there's usually an air gap, which keeps the cold air out when you open the primary door. And that's what the purpose of that door is. So you open that door, that cold air is gonna rush down that hallway and affect the temperature down the hallway and the spaces down the hallway and the offices down the hallway. So it's there to keep the cold air out when you open up that exterior door.
Is there enough traffic in and out of that door for it really to be necessary? I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah,
it's
well,
not. I genuinely
absolutely
don't.
there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
you're welcome.
Okay, seeing nothing further. Okay, Mr. Majors, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mrs. Favreau? That was under public input. Is the council have a, okay, go ahead. You got to turn the mic back on, please.
I'm not sure how the door was measured, but I do have an ADA way to measure, and as of last week, it did not meet that requirement, so I offer that. I do have a printout from Amazon. If you don't believe me, that's probably what the cost is. But more importantly, I'd like to show you a few pictures. This is a picture of my son in his wheelchair in front of that door. And as you can see, to try to open that door, he'd be opening that door directly into his wheelchair. And so typically, yes, might meet the ADA requirement because it's 5 pounds to open a door, but if you can't get around the door, you can't open the door. And if you can't open the door, you can't go through the door. If you can't go through the door, you can't participate in a public meeting. You can't get to do your business, which is at the end of the hallway. It's not just a matter of being upset. It's a matter of importance to participate fully as a citizen within the community. This door, if it's from 1968, should have been changed a long time ago. We also know that from the other side of the door, and this is actually a picture of myself trying to push that door. So here's a picture of you trying to pull the door. Here's a picture trying to push it. I was seated in his wheelchair, and I'm of average strength. I could not push the door and wheel myself through that doorway. Again, might be 5 pounds of pressure, but if you can't do it, you can't do it. I was actually in a wheelchair this wheelchair for 6 months when I got hit by a car in this town. And I had to be in that wheelchair for that period of time. That would have precluded me to participate in any meetings as a commissioner or on any other boards or whatever that I might have volunteered on. So you would be cutting out not just a matter of convenience, or not just because someone's upset, but because they can't fully participate as a citizen in the government or in their needs that have to be met. Why? Because it's a simple wooden door. We also know that when we have extensive renovations done to a building like this and you have public money involved, a certain percentage of that money has to be set aside for ADA requirements in this building. And this is not an expensive item. Maybe you have to replace a door frame. I probably think you don't. Even if this item to do would cost you double this cost of $4,000, in consideration of the monies that have been spent on this building in the past 2 years, it probably falls within that percentage that it should be a coverable item. Because the door, the exterior door, which used to be the way to get into this building, now is locked, and I can understand that because you want to harden that door, and people have to come to this door. They're coming on this lot, going up those flagstones, up that ramp, through double doors, down a hallway, down another hallway, down an elevator, and then they can't open the wooden door that's there. So it seems to me that this simple wooden door, after 1968 and all the other renovations, the windows, the HVAC, and everything else that's been done, you've got one door that's acting as a barrier to people in this community to fully participate, not because it's a nice thing to do. It is a need. And yes, might meet that ADA requirement of 5 pounds, but to Councilor King's comment, it's the right thing to do. So this is that hallway. And at the end of this hallway, people still have to navigate that. And we have people in this town that are required to be in that probate court. They have to get down there. And even me, if I'm helping my son, I am still struggling to try to hold open that door with my foot, try to wheel my son around that door, and that is a struggle. He weighs 180 pounds, and trying to push him in a wheelchair and hold that door open is extremely difficult. So yes, you might say, let's have a little brotherly love, and that's maybe somebody can help someone. It might not even be that easy to help someone when you can simply install a button and you can open that door in a slow and controlled manner so that it can be accessible to anyone who needs it. So they have that old saying, build it and they will come. Build it, it will be used. And so I leave that, counselors, with that thought. Do you want simply a simple door like this? We all know that it's a struggle to get people on boards and commissions. You might very well have somebody in a wheelchair right now who'd be very happy to be on one of your boards and commissions. I know it's hard to fill, but they can't get through this door. So, counselors, I really can ask you, I plead with you, please to consider this, because it's the right thing to do so that everyone in this community can actively participate, not only in their government, but to meet the needs that they have with our probate court and with our registrar of voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Favreau. Moving on to 13B, Councilor Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution authorizing the signing of vehicle lease agreement with Gates Nissan for the replacement of a police vehicle. Whereas the South Windsor Police Department would like to enter into a lease agreement with Nissan Motor Acceptance Corporation for the replacement of a Nissan Altima police vehicle. Now therefore be it resolved that Michael Maniscalco, as Town Manager of the Town of South Windsor, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town of South Windsor and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents as shown in attached Exhibit A.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussions? Councilor Carey.
Mr. Maniscalco, I had a couple of questions that I just wondered if you could go over for me. Could you share, the reason for getting this lease replacement, the cost and the term?
Sure, so we had a vehicle that was totaled by our insurance company. It was involved in an accident. It had a couple thousand miles. It was a 2024. This is to replace that vehicle, and it's needed by the police department for its use. So the new lease is a 36-month municipal lease. It's $447 a month. And I believe the total buyout at the end of that lease, at the end of the 36 months, is $16,000.
Thank you. And then the amount of money for the monthly lease is in the budget?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 13C, Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution accepting the resignation of Victor Durabantu from the Economic Development Commission effective November 22nd, 2024. And be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Victor Durabantu as an alternate member of the Economic Development Commission effective November 22nd, 2024. Be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Victor Durabantu for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Economic Development Commission.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, motion carries. Okay, moving on to 13D, Councilor Balboni.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution accepting the recommendation of the Public Building Commission for the permanent location of Parks and Rec. Whereas the Parks and Recreation Department located from Wapping School to make room for a high school annex in the fall of 2022, and whereas on October 17th, 2022, the town of South Windsor accepted Old Orchard Hill School from the Board of Education for the use of town purposes, and whereas the Town Council passed a resolution on September 5th, 2023, asking the Public Building Commission to evaluate permanent locations for Parks and Rec, and provide a recommendation to the Town Council by June 17th, 2024. And whereas the Public Building Commission brought forward a recommendation to the Town Council on July 15th, 2024, that recommended the use of Old Orchard Hill School with renovations to meet ADA building and fire code requirements. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town Council accepts the location recommendations from the Public Building Committee for the Parks and Recs facility to be permanently located at the Old Orchard Hill School.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to 13E, Councilor Boganski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution directing the Public Building Commission to get firm itemized prices associated with the renovations at Old Orchard Hill School. Whereas the Parks and Recreation Department relocated from Wapping School to make room for a high school annex in the fall of 2022, and whereas on October 17th, 2022, the town of South Windsor accepted Old Orchard Hill School from the Board of Education for the use of town purposes, and whereas the Town Council passed a resolution on September 5, 2023, asking the Public Building Commission to evaluate permanent locations for parks and recreation and provide a recommendation to the Town Council by June 17, 2024, and whereas the Public Building Commission brought forward a recommendation to the Town Council on July 15, 2024, that recommended the use of Old Orchard Hill School with renovations to meet ADA building and fire code requirements, and whereas the Town Council has accepted the location recommended by the Public Building Commission for the Parks and Recreation facility to be permanently located at the Old Orchard Hill School. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Council directs the Public Building Commission to get firm itemized prices associated with renovations to the Old Orchard Hill School to ensure that it meets ADA, fire, and building code requirements. Furthermore, be it resolved, the Town Council directs the Public Building Commission to work with the town manager to identify, use and seek approval for the appropriate funding sources in order to gain the appropriate scope and pricing.
Was there a second? Okay, couldn't hear you. And plus, our clerk wouldn't be able to hear you. So, thank you, Ms. Counselor Lewis. Okay, any discussion? Counselor Baganski.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that when the, bids go out, the RFP goes out, we make sure that the contractors that are looking at this understand that we would like to get prices that are as granular as possible so that we can sort of itemize if we have to get into sort of that pick and choose kind of mentality about things that are, and they also need to prioritize the things that, the items that have to be done to meet these minimum requirements to make the building compliant with all current codes, so that if we get into a funding issue, we can then therefore say, yes, we're going to do this, but not that, and have a fixed cost on what those items are. So just want to make sure that everybody's on the same playing field with that.
I believe that's what the Public Building
Yep,
Commission
I
was
just wanted
looking at.
to
Right.
reiterate and make sure.
Correct. I get you.
Thank you.
Counselor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Along those same lines, the last sentence says, furthermore, be it resolved, the town council directs PBC to work with the town manager to identify, use, and seek approval for the appropriate funding sources in order to gain the appropriate scope and pricing. I wonder, is there a way to make sure that, again, going along with Councilor Baganski, not only from a fixed pricing standpoint, but that we also are going after grant money? Because obviously the last thing that we've heard it, I've heard it countless times, is we can't do anything until we do something, and then we go after grant money. And that's not accurate at all. You go after grant money when you have something that you're looking to do, and then you say, okay, what can I find that can pay for this? And so what I don't want to have a situation, again, going along with Councilor Baganski, is that we can't afford something and we didn't even go after the money to do it. So in what way can we, for lack of a better word, and guarantee that we're going after appropriate funding sources as opposed to hearing, we're not really sure?
So, I don't mean to jump in, but I think what we're looking to do with this resolution is to just get the prices of the actual projects, not to actually do those projects. Am I correct in saying that? Is everybody on the same board with
Going
that?
to the Public Building Commission to come back with.
I think once we get those prices, then, once we get those prices and you guys say, these are the projects we want to do, that's when we say, okay, we have I'm just picking a number out of the sky, $100,000 roof to do.
Yep.
Let's go get the funding and seek grants at the same time and see what we can get.
So then should we not even have this in there then?
Well, I think
that's what-
this last line is about the idea that there could be costs associated with hiring an architect to price out those actual
Is
projects.
that what that is? Oh, okay.
Yes.
If
Okay,
that makes
thank
sense.
you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion?
I was just going to clarify for Councilor.
Yep, go ahead.
I think there's some leftover money from when we did the first go-around, when we did sort of the high look. Now we want to get very granular at this. So there's some money left there. If it's going to cost a little bit more than that, the PBC just needs to say, okay, it's going to cost us $100,000, we have $50,000 left over, we need the extra $50,000, and they can come back to us to approve that, and then we can move forward from there. But to your point, I like the idea of going after grant money too, so.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Yeah, we'll take a 2-minute recess before our 8 o'clock public hearing. calling the public hearing to order for the town council to receive citizen input on the revisions to the town charter. Ms. Lath, if you could please read the public notice.
To be published in the Journal Enquirer, February 7th, 2025. Legal ad, Town of South Windsor. Notice is hereby given that the South Windsor Town Council hereby sets Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 8 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall, 1540 Sullivan Avenue, South Windsor, Connecticut, as the time and place for a second public hearing to receive citizen input on revisions to the town charter. Dated at South Windsor, Connecticut, this 4th day of February 2025, attested to by Catherine J. Center, Executive Assistant.
Thank you, Ms. Lath. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to the council regarding the revisions of the town charter? Is there anyone who would like to speak to the council at this time for the town charter? Mr. Paterno.
Thank you. Andrew Paterno, 301 Strawberry Lane. I am one of the co-chairs for the Charter Revision Commission. I just want to set the stage for you in terms of process so that you know that we had 12 public, open to the public meetings, plus 5 public hearings. So there were 17 separate opportunities for residents to come in and give their input. Secondly, we did interview because we had notes from, I think 3 years ago when staff people sent us notes about what they would recommend for changes in the charter. So we did invite some staff people in to talk with us and give us their opinions. We were able to ask them questions about their positions. And then we had deliberations. We had 2 principal advisors, our town attorney, Richard Corella, and the town manager, Michael Maniscalco. And once again, they were there to answer questions for us. When we began our deliberations, it was the 7 members of this commission who deliberated over and negotiated over what could or could not be or should not be changed. So I just want to give you a picture of how the process worked for us. We spent a lot of time working on it and discussing it, and I would say to you that it was always a respectful, honest, open discussion. We disagreed, but no one argued about things. No one got angry with people. We just found a way to negotiate and say, okay, this might work. So just so you have that in terms of your process. The second stage is, after tonight, you will have 15 days to come up with your comments and send them back to us. Once we get those comments, we have another 30 days to meet and review those comments before we send the final report back to you. So that's how the process is set up to go according to state statutes. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Paterno. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this time for revisions to the town charter? Okay. At this time, I will close the public hearing regarding changes to the town charter, and we will resume our regular meeting.
Hey, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. Could I just ask a quick question of Mr. Paterno before we move on?
Sure. Sorry. Because we'll have our discussion item too later on in the meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, I just had a quick question.
Okay.
So the comments that we get back to you, is that individually, or do we like gather all those comments together and ship them all over to you at once?
I think that's for you as a group to decide how you want to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, Madam Mayor, thank you. Town Council, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, we'll be discussing that tonight on what we discussed over here, and that's why the special meeting next week too. Okay, moving on to 13F, Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Thank you. Resolution setting a public hearing to receive citizen input on amendments to ordinance number 237, Agricultural Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby sets Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 8:00 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall, 1540 Sullivan Avenue, South Windsor, Connecticut, as the time and place for a second public hearing to receive citizen input on the amendments to ordinance number 237, Agricultural Commission, attached as Exhibit B.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Counselor Balboni?
Just a quick question. It says there for a second public hearing?
That should read for a public hearing. Take the word second out. So,
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to take the word second out.
okay,
Second?
that has been accepted by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor of the friendly amendment, no, yeah, I think I take a vote on the friendly amendment, right? Friendly amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The friendly amendment passes. All those in favor of the revised resolution, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to 13F. Counselor Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution approving refund batch number 13 for 23 refunds totaling $12,058.61. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves 23 refunds, total of said refunds being $23,058.61, as more fully described in Exhibit C.
We have a motion. We have a second by Counselor Baganski. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor?
I just want to clarify, it's 13G, just for the record. You had
Oh,
said
I was
F.
reading.
Yeah, I know, it.
I was reading my other paper.
Just want to, for the
Okay,
record.
13G, yes, thank you. Too many papers. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, 13H. Discussion, the line item, line-by-line review of the charter revision, Exhibit D. In our packets, we should all have the revisions. And if we wanted to go, what, line by line, section by section, to see if anyone has any thoughts for, we'll start with line item 1, section 202. Does anyone have any thoughts on the final recommendation from the Charter Revision Commission? So we're all in agreement of 202? Okay.
Should we just for...
Counselor Carey?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Counselor Carey.
Madam Mayor, should we read out the proposed change by the Charter Commission, just so that people listening to this will be able to follow along?
Yeah, the final is to keep it as 2 years is, currently the section reads, a meeting of the electors of the election of town officers shall be held on the Tuesday after the first Monday of November 1969, and biannually recommended a 4-year term for increased consistency and efficiency, and the commission recommended to keep it at 2 years. That was their final recommendation. So is the council in agreement with the final recommendation of the commission? Okay. Section 203, which is town officers. The question is if position.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So.
I know, this is a little confusing.
We're literally going to do this for all 59? I don't think that's efficient at all. I mean,
What do you propose? Do you want to go over just the ones that we?
Might have an issue with. There's a change. Yes, if there is a change.
Well, 203, then there are changes.
Yes, right.
Okay.
But I'm saying I wouldn't go through all 59 and read each one of them. I mean, we'd be here for another 2 hours. Easy.
Well, I wasn't going to do line items. It's like if you look at section 204, there's a whole bunch of lines. So that would be,
I see.
I wouldn't be going 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay,
That's,
thank you.
that just happened to be the first one. So section 203 was, we have Board of Selectmen, Constables, Town Treasurer, and the recommendation from the commission or Charter Commission is to keep the constables, remove selectmen, and make the town treasurer an appointed position. Any discussion on section 203? Councilor Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the treasurer should remain an elected position, but I do think that one of the things we need to do is document the roles and responsibilities and communications from the town treasurer so that it's clear, you know, what is expected of that role and, you know, what types of background you need to have that position.
That means it sounds like it should be an appointed position then. That's my take, because we only have 15 days after tonight to get this done, so. So the question is so you're saying to keep treasurer as an elected position,
Yes.
the same as the board of, as the constables, and remove the selectmen.
Correct.
Any discussion? Are we in agreement of keeping the treasurer as an elected position? All right, I have my list here. Who's in favor of keeping it as an elected position? I'm going to start down at your end, Councilor Fitzgerald.
My question is, if there needs to be like qualifications and roles and responsibilities for that job, if it's an elected position, anyone can run for it, even if you're completely unqualified. So.
Correct. That was my thought.
Yeah, so I think I would probably not be in favor of making that or I would be in favor of making that an appointed position instead of keeping it an elected position.
Councilor King?
Who would appoint?
The town manager. It would be an a direct report.
So the town manager could appoint the town treasurer. So like we have, and yes, y'all can rock with this how you want to, like President Trump appointed Elon Musk. That's basically what we're saying.
No, appointed means it would be put out there as a hired position. It would be.
But you're saying appointed, which means he could literally say, I want to appoint this person to be the treasurer, unless I'm misunderstanding the word appointed.
Councilor Carey?
Councilman King, I think you make a good point.
That's all I'm saying. I have no,
right.
When it's elected, yes.
Right now, it's a volunteer position too, right? There is no pay with this position. So we're not trying to add a position to the town, you know, and a new salary and benefits and everything else, right? It is a volunteer position that the town elects. And what it does is it reviews and signs off on certain documents. For example, the bond sale looks at, you know, the funds flowing through. And, you know, the other week we had the treasurer come up and give comments about some wording within the bond sale. So I think having it as elected, unpaid position seems appropriate.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that I'm struggling with, just for that main reason. At least, and when it's elected, potentially should, there might be, there's no perception, potentially, of the treasurer doing the bidding of the town manager.
From my understanding, the treasurer, a lot of the treasurer duties are being done now in the finance department. That's where, I believe that's where the appointed part comes from. But,
Yeah, based on this, I would have to,
but see, again, the elected position, if you're going to have duties,
Yep.
anybody can run for town treasurer and they're not qualified.
this is true.
And if a lot of the functions are already being done in the finance department,
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I remember a long time ago in running for office, I said, crap, I don't even know what a town councilor does. And a lot of people said, well, you'll learn as you go. And I think a lot of things in government, that tends to happen. You know, you're not necessarily super duper qualified, but especially when you're talking about a volunteer position, I would suggest that nobody would run for it unless they wanted to put in that time and they perhaps did have a certain amount. So I won't belabor the point. I would rather keep it elected. That's just me.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, simply, I'd like to keep it as a elected position. I believe it's, you know, the RTC nominating committee, DTC nominating committee, UCP nominating committee, unaffiliated folks. I think, you know, they have great volunteers as well, and, you know, they do their vetting and make sure the appropriate person would be running. And I imagine if there wasn't somebody qualified, maybe the particular party wouldn't even put somebody up. So that's a scenario that could come up as well. So I believe we have 27,000 people in town here. There's a lot of really smart folks, a lot of people that maybe do this for their job and would love to do it. So I believe we should always have at least one or two folks that are qualified running, in my opinion.
Thank you. Well, I'll give mine. When I first saw this, I thought it would, appointed would be sufficient, as the duties, as I said, are already being done in the finance department, and the staff is highly qualified to handle the additional duties, which is not really additional because they're already doing most of it anyway. And Councilor Carey, you want to add more, or are you all set with your comments? Okay. Councilor Balboni?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I definitely would like to keep this as an elected position. I think a couple of points that were already made, but I think actually some of our best elected officials aren't career politicians and haven't been hired. They may have a business background or something else where they're better qualified to actually perform these checks and balances that I believe the treasurer needs to be doing.
Councilor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't need to repeat a lot that's been said, but I agree it should be elected. It's another level of accountability and checks and balances, which I think is particularly important when we're serving a populace of a diversity of 27,000 people.
And Councilor Baginski.
For all the aforementioned reasons, I also agree that it should be an elected position.
Okay. Attorney Corella, how do we handle these type of things? Do we have to just bring these back to the commission within the 15 days?
The council, all of you have 15 days to respond to the Charter Revision Commission. So I would suggest compiling this list of recommendations back to them.
Okay.
Okay, you can say, you know, accepted, right, or rejected, or modified, if you have a modification.
Okay.
And I would keep track of it. I'm keeping track of it, what you said here. But I think it's up to you to vote on this, probably at your next meeting.
We have a special meeting next Monday, if we don't get to tonight, and then
Okay.
the March 3rd meeting is when we have it.
You have it on the March 3rd meeting.
Yes.
That's within the 15 days, and that'll send it back to them, and then they can go from there. They have
Okay.
30 days after that.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have to vote on it as a group of what your changes are and
Okay.
send it back to them.
Okay.
But we don't have to vote on those now.
No, well, I'm just
Okay.
trying to get a consensus to
okay.
where,
All right.
when we come to our March 3rd, and just in case we need that. Yeah, yes, I get it, yes. Okay. Section 204. Okay, this one's a big one. Is change the town council and Board of Ed, making it four-year terms staggered. There was planning and zoning in there. And the final recommendation by the commission was keep the council and Board of Ed at 2 years. Planning and zoning, no action to the planning and zoning reference in the charter. Remove elected position of town clerk and have her appointed, him or her appointed by the town manager's office based on qualifications and experience, which would go out to the public as a job opening, where the current town clerk can actually apply for it. And changing of, instead of 6 candidates per party, change it to up to 5. So to make it look like a Board of Ed type 5-4 maximum. Each side runs 5. You can have one loser like you do right now with the Board of Ed. And no term limits, that's what they recommend, the commission, no term limits. So, 2 years to keep council and Board of Ed. We all in agreement of that one? Yep. All agreement? Not changing it to 4? Okay, that was the recommendation from the commission, keep it 2 years. Okay, all agree. The town clerk position, making that appointed or keep it elected. That was a recommendation from the commission and also from the actual town clerk, who suggested to make it an appointed position. Yep. So, agree on the town clerk? Okay, 2 years, keep 2 years for Board of Ed. The charter change regarding reference to the planning and zoning. Councilor Carey?
So I have a proposal. Planning and zoning currently is weird because they have 4-year terms. And today, the way it works, at one of the terms, you can put 3 people on, and at the other term, you can only put 2 people on. And so what happens is you can never change the balance of the planning and zoning board, like the way that the numbers work. The balance always has to stay the same. So what I'd like us to do is look at, would it be possible to look at the way that's done? And I have something for you to look at, Attorney Cardillo, to see if we can change the way we put people up so that you can change the balance of it. But it is a little tricky because of the 4, the way the chart is written is you begin and you can have X number of people elected because they're on 4-year terms, right? So, and then the next time of the election, it's a lower number. So, and you don't ever want a super majority, so you're always trying to keep with just a simple majority on the board. So, but the way it works now, you can't flip the majority. Oh, every other election you can, you just can't. So it's only every other election that you could. So the interim election, you can't.
So what are you
Proposing that we do it in a way that allows you to flip.
Do you have a proposal?
Yes, yeah, I do. I actually have it, and I didn't get a chance to make copies, but I'll.
Because we're going to need one for the clerk as well.
Yeah, yep.
So we can get our notes
yeah.
together.
I can send it to you guys electronically, but I also have paper if we can make a copy. I just didn't get a chance. I didn't get in here early enough. Sure. It's a little bit long because it's a little confusing.
We've got a special meeting next week, too.
Yeah, so do you want me to just give you all a
Yeah,
copy?
we'll
Yeah,
go back to.
yeah, and I mean, it is long. Yeah, all right, well, I'll give it to you without, do you want pizza?
It's 7 o'clock.
I'll buy you pizza.
We'll come back to this line item at the next meeting. That way, the P and Z section, so that way we'll have the notes from Counselor Carey. And like I said, we agreed on that. And the recommendation from the Charter Revision Commission was keeping the 2 years for no term limits. So that'll be 2 years. And because someone suggested to have term limits on the council, Board of Ed, and Planning and Zoning. And the commission recognized if an elected official wishes to continue to serve, and in light of the fact that some parties have difficulty finding the right candidates, there should be no term limits. So we all agree with no term limits. And do we agree with the 5 or 6 candidates for council? You like to change?
5.
Agree with that change? Okay. 206 is section 206. I don't know what section 206. Nominating a slate of candidates for the town council. Each party will identify which nominee will be the mayor. Voting ballot shall identify those candidates under the title as mayor on the ballot. And the final recommendation from the commission is do not add to the charter. Are we agreement on that? Okay. Okay, I'm confused. Which one's this?
207 is eligibility. It's just all these requirements that we said not to change.
Oh, okay, so 207. Okay, because mine's, I got a little different one, okay. Okay, so they recommend no action to be done, so we agree with no action, okay. 208, include a statement of the time period for filling vacancies for town elected positions must be filled within 30 days. Vacancies will be filled within 3 days of the final date of the elected official's letter of resignation. Vacancies will be filled by the appropriate political party affiliation at the time of the previous election. Vacancies for town council will not be approved by the seated town council.
That revision should say 30 days. I'm not too sure that said 3, but 3. No, I'm not holding you guys to that kind of standard.
And that's right, this is the one that was your recommendation to add this, is that correct?
That's correct. That will avoid the situation we found ourselves in earlier, where there was no appointment to the town council for a while. So state statute calls for 30 days. In other instances, you should have a similar situation in your charter. That gives you some parameters within which time you need to act. 30 days is more than sufficient.
Okay, I'm fine with the 30 days, but I think for boards and commissions, we as a council approve boards and commissions. Shouldn't the council approve who sits with them? I think that's what you're trying to avoid. Because when we have a to-read for boards and commissions, we as a council approve people to be appointed to a board and commission. Even though the party puts them up, we as a council still vote, just like we did tonight.
Right?
So are we not, the way I'm taking it here is the political party puts the vacant seat, they fill it. It looks like, the way I'm reading it, that the council is not going to approve that seated person. Right? Isn't that how I think we took
Yeah,
it?
that's the way it's.
Can I, may I add?
That doesn't make sense.
Right. Go
Could I,
ahead. Yeah, sure.
I'm strongly opposed to the way this is presented. To me, it seems like it's taking away the integrity of even holding an election. You know, maybe there's somebody out there that a certain political party knows that the general public would maybe be opposed to. In the way that this is written, you could have an election, a town council member could resign right after swearing in, and then the political party that that person was with can appoint a new person, and then they just come sit down at the table. To me, it just seems like, why even have an election in the first place? I think what happened this year, or this past year, hopefully was unique and wouldn't really happen again. I believe it was handled the way that the folks, the culmination of 9 people, or I guess 8 at the time, thought it would be handled best. But to me, just having an RTC or a DTC be able to fill a vacancy without the approval of the elected council, to me, it just doesn't sit right. You could just pick and choose who you want any given week. I like what you're trying to do. I just think the way that it's written and recommended is not right at all.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you on that. The way I'm reading this as well, that's not the intention. The political parties can't fill the vacancy. The town council fills the vacancies. That's what it should read. And so we'll have an opportunity to address that at the special meeting or subsequently. But the intention is to have the town council have some timeframes within which to act.
And not drag it out like we did the last
Correct.
time. So, okay.
I'd be open to maybe putting the responsibility on the particular party to, if it does exceed 30 days, that a new recommendation has to come forward to maybe speed along the process. Because I know when we were going through that process, the recommendation was to, hey, can we maybe get another recommendation here? And I think it just dragged on. Everybody agrees probably that it dragged on a little bit too long. But yeah, that last line there saying will not be approved by the seated town council is kind of crazy when we approve, we just approved 2 folks on, I think it was Parks and Rec Commission, I forget what the other one was. So again, the way that it's written, it just totally erases the integrity of even having an election. So the way that it currently sits, I would just straight up deny it to be included on the referendum.
So I think what we're saying is, we're just giving the 30 days, but keep the process the way it still is.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe, like I said before, throw something in there that if it goes beyond 30 days, that a new recommendation has to come forward. That'd be acceptable in my opinion, but totally getting rid of that last sentence there, I don't know. It sounds like you agree that that's not the way that you recommended.
That's not the intention of what I recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why this process
Yeah,
goes back to the Charter Revision Commission with your recommendations. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
this is a big deal, you know, hasn't been open in a while and probably won't again, so, and, you know, to Steve's comment earlier, you know, having to go through this and, you know, go through another special meeting, you know, I think we need to take it serious, so, as it's currently written, I'd say, strike that thing off of here.
Councilor Carey?
I agree with Councilor Cusey, but also think that we probably need a couple steps, right? We need, you know, the party who lost someone needs to, you know, give a name by a certain date. A vote has to occur by a certain date. And then I do think we probably need to add in there, if the vote isn't successful, then the party has to come up with another name within a certain amount of time. So let's be real. If we're going to get specific, let's be real specific.
Okay, we can look at by next meeting. Counselor Lewis, are you? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, section 209. I think this one's pretty simple. Revise the verbiage to federal, state, or town-owned buildings, because currently it is to eliminate the voting locations to be in any religious organizations or business establishments, just to clean up the language. Okay. All agree on section 209? Okay, section 301. Remove the stipend for the mayor position of $75. Woohoo! To have the mayor submit documentation and request do an expense report. All agree? Yep. Okay, section 302. This is to remove the time of the organizational meeting because currently it says 8 p.m. So just to clean it up, we'll remove the time so that way all the elected officials can work with the town clerk to, if it's 6, 7, we're not stuck with the time. So we're agree with removing the time?
Madam Mayor, just backing
Yep.
up just for a moment.
Sure.
Is this, the compensation of 75, is that, the stipend, whatever, is that just for the mayor, or is that for the entire council?
No, that's the mayor's stipend. Because back in '67, it was this, it basically still is a ceremonial type position, and
No,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
that. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with it. I guess, so my question would be, there are times where we as counselors may go somewhere to do something, whether to represent the town or what have you. How is that? Are we able to, I've never known that before. I usually came out of pocket my first term. You know, I was deputy mayor and I was going places and I was like, there was no money for that. So I was coming out of pocket. And I'm suggesting that, say for example, if there is something that a counselor needs to attend or is asked to attend, that they can attend if they don't ask the mayor or the deputy mayor, but that they don't have to come out of pocket for that, that should be something that they could submit a request to the town for as well.
well, that's not in here, but.
No. So, I mean, again,
Right.
special meeting, but I just wanted to kind of drop that out there because there are times, again, I know there were times I just didn't know. I just knew we weren't getting paid, but I know I was asked, whether it was gas or whatever, to go different places, New Haven, so on and so forth.
And the stipend is always, in past practices, has always been donated.
Just the mayor. Oh, no, I knew
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
I'm saying if we're changing it to a reimbursement, which again, I agree with, then I'm just suggesting that maybe we might want to consider that for counselors as a whole. That's all. Again, we have a special meeting, but just wanted to drop that. I apologize.
Okay, we can add that one as another, to continue discussion. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
I would just say we are volunteers at the end of the day. There's been plenty of events that I just simply haven't gone to because I got 3 kids and not a whole bunch of money in my pocket or time. So I think it's probably, my guess is it was probably in here because, you know, people want the mayor at an event. You feel that pressure as the mayor, what have you, to be there. And if you did need compensation or reimbursement, but I think we do a good job of not stretching ourselves too thin and not going to all the places. So I'm happy to talk about it, but
So let me be clear. I don't want finances to be a reason for why we don't do things.
Yeah. No,
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying all of a sudden I'm going out there and lighting it up and filing something.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I don't want our finances to be a reason why we don't, because I agree with you. You have a family and all that stuff, and then your wife says to you, hey, babe.
Yeah.
So that's all. I'm saying I don't want that to be the reason. But again, we have a special meeting for it. But I
Yeah, bring
appreciate
some
your thoughts.
notes and maybe that's something to add too.
Okay. And 302, besides removing the time, it was keeping the first Monday. So that removed, so we'll remove the time, so that's section 02, 302, that's agree, 302. Okay, section 303, section making the town clerk appointed to the town manager. This section 303 was actually clerk of the council, so it's changing the word clerk to clerk of the council. Because section 303 refers to the clerk of the council and has been corrected on 1/3/2025, and no discussion on the clerk of the council was needed to occur. So 303 is just changing clerk of the council. So we're all in agreement on that one. Okay. Thank you. 306, public notification via the means of times, website, social media, etc. It's adding the verbiage as required by statutory authority and law. We're adding that to the charter. So we're getting up with the times instead of just newspaper, I believe. So I'm assuming we all agree in 306? Okay. Which one's this? 314 next? Okay.
There's a whole bunch of them.
Okay, 314, there's what, 2? I got 2 of them, but, okay. The amount of 25,000 should be higher or remove and make it an ordinance. This is the remove and make part of a procurement ordinance. Procurement ordinance can only be changed with a super majority plus 1 vote. So we're going to remove that and make a procurement ordinance, which would still come to the council for approval. Deputy Mayor.
My only comment there is if we're approving the change of no longer having a supermajority, how's that going to work?
Well, it just means that you need 7 people.
Oh.
So of the 9 of us, 7 have to agree.
Because right now, a majority is 6.
Got it. Okay.
Supermajority is 6, so you need supermajority plus 1.
Got it.
So you,
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also allows us the flexibility of the charter's been open once in like 53 years. So if you have an ordinance, it can be updated.
Correct.
As times change.
yeah, with the dollar amount. Or
Right, because there's a couple that fall under this.
correct. So we're agree with removing in this and making it in an ordinance?
Yep.
Okay. 315, remove, it's the same thing, should be updated, should say inflationary clause, not inflammatory. And made into an ordinance. So agree, 315. Okay, 404, amend to have the town manager appoint the acting town manager in their absence. The final recommendation is to remove from the charter, town manager assigns designee in their absence as a matter of operational need. The charter revision recognize that this is done as a regular or routine action, maintain the continuity of operational activity by towns with the same type of government form as South Windsor. It does not need to be in the charter. I believe this is this where the town clerk takes over? Yep. Mr. Maniscalco?
It is.
Right,
I think that's the section. No, do you remember?
404? I know there's one of the sections that,
Oh, it says that, so this one says that the council appoints an acting manager. So what are they proposing then? I'm not sure what they're proposing. But if I'm not able to be here, that doesn't make sense.
no problem removing it
I
from the
think we
charter?
should probably discuss that one further at the special meeting, because the way this is written, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, so discuss next week?
Yeah.
406, merit system to be policy rather than in charter. Recommendation says to keep as in charter, 406. We agree? That's okay, you can say yep. 407, Director of Recreation should be changed to Director of Parks and Recreation. The final recommendation says change charter to read Director of Parks and Recreation. This is a regular routine change to update the transfer of park duties to the Recreation Department approximately 10 years or so ago. All agree? Yes. Okay. 502, Jury Committee, eliminate, agree? Since who knows what that is. Okay, 502, remove from charter, okay. Which one's this, 502? Okay. Add alternates to boards and commissions, okay. Final from the commission is alternates will remain the same as in the charter. Political parties will fill vacancies. 502 also says qualifications listed in the current charter are being kept. No additional experience qualifications changes to boards and commissions. Are we okay with the 502? Okay. Okay, and the other one was do not have a 2-year waiting period. We agree with that, with the Charter Revision Commission. Qualifications listed in the charter, okay. 502, we agree with the commission. Okay. 604, references to Park and Recreation, which under Section 612, remove town dump from charter. That's the final recommendation. Okay. 609, amend to make the appointment of the town attorney the responsibility of the town manager rather than the town council. I believe Councilor Carey had a little bit of a verbiage change there.
Yeah, and the Charter Review Commission suggested the verbiage be changed to make appointment of town attorney responsible to town manager with advice from town council. I wanted to make it with approval from town council because town council uses the attorney as, frequently, and I think it would be important for the attorney to be approved by the town council.
Instead of advice.
Instead of advice.
Agreed, that's good change.
Yes, Councilor King? Oh, Councilor Fitzgerald.
Oh, I was just going to say I agree with that. I mean, if the town attorney represents the town council, we should be the one choosing the town attorney. But it should be, town manager probably knows better than we do what firms are out there.
Right, there's not too many firms that do municipal law. Okay, so we're agreeing with that one verbiage change. Okay. Okay, 611. Yep. We agree with change dog warden to animal control officer in the charter? Yes. Okay. 612, Department of Recreation should be changed to Department of Parks and Recreation. The final is change name. We all agree on that one? Okay. Which one is next? 612. Add and provide proper care and maintenance. I guess it's just a description of care and maintenance of the school grounds. Councilor Carey?
I think that maybe we don't want to get too specific in town charter. If town charter is something that is open once every 40 or 50 years, maybe we need to point to something else as to the specifics of what different departments do. Otherwise, you either get outdated or, I mean, I don't feel strongly about it, but I just wonder if, do you really want to describe everything in the charter, or do you want to describe it and have the charter point to the document?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. I'm having trouble hearing. I'm just
Oh, sorry.
distracted. No, there's so much noise. Excuse me, well, Madam Mayor, do you want me, if I say something, you'll say, Councilor Lewis? Could there be one meeting in the room, please? This meeting?
Yeah, Attorney Corella, the section 612 is getting more into detail. I think Councilor Carey's concern is having too much detail in a charter like that. Is that necessary? Can we eliminate all that description?
That's certainly up to you to review, but I think there's already an ordinance about the Department of Parks and Recreation that details what it does and all the scope of it. I don't think you need to have that in the charter. I think as it's stated right now, other than changing it to the Department of Parks and Recreation, I think it's fine the way it is. That's my opinion. Obviously, the Charter Revision Commission recommended something else, but it's up to you guys to decide if you want to be more detailed about that or not. I don't think you need that level of detail in the charter, my opinion.
So you want to just remove that level of detail? Yes. We agree?
Yep.
So remove level of detail. Okay. Section 704, members of the public should be able to vote on a school budget. The recommendation from the commission is no referendum on budgets. 704 is the town referendum on budgets totally. So the commission has done a lot of research on, that is a lot of line items, on other towns who have referendums on budgets. Their recommendation is no referendum on budgets. And what does the council wish to do with 704 and 705? Councilor Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to recommend that once the town council has completed their review and set a budget, the mill rate, if that budget, it results in an increase to town residents of 5.5% or more, that we go to referendum. Now, when saying that, think about what that means, right? That means that town residents' budgets are going up 5.5% or more. So even when you have a school budget coming in at 6%, and they are, they're 62% of the budget, and town comes in at, 2 or 3%, you're still not going to 5.5. So if you're going to 5.5, you're really pushing the boundaries. And I think at that point, that we have to give the residents a chance to say, are you okay with that? So, not making it 3 or 4, not abdicating the town council's responsibility, because I think that is our responsibility. But if, at the end of the day, a town council cannot get a budget below 5.5%, I think it should go to referendum.
And any other comments? Oh, Councilor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I think that's our responsibility as elected officials to make these decisions. It'd be different perhaps if we did not have term limits. I think then that's when, and has obviously been the case in past elections, that if the residents are upset.
You mean like years?
Yes, years, exactly. So we're all 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they can make that decision. I think once we go down that dangerous path someone could easily just say, could inflate a number, just so that it would go to referendum. Like, unless I'm misreading it, you're saying that, oh, wait a minute, no, you're saying that if the council says that it should go up 5.
Yeah.
5.5.
Right. Yeah, I run to make that decision. If people disagree with that decision, so be it. We have 2 years, and they can vote me out. I run too hard to have somebody who doesn't to then say, no, I disagree. Like, okay, vote me out. I'm fine with that. But I think we go down a dangerous path if all of a sudden we say, then what are we running for? Because basically we're saying that the town, we might as well just have open election on any decision that we make.
Because you're saying our decisions were affected by our own decisions.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think I understand why you're saying it. I'm just saying that I think we can go down a slippery path if every decision that we make when it comes to money, someone could easily just say, oh, well, let's change it up so that it has to go to a referendum, and that's not what we're running for. I don't want to introduce a negative for what I believe I am running for office for the town of South Windsor. I'm trying to do better by it, not necessarily to tax anybody unnecessarily, so on and so forth. So that's where I'm at. I agree. I don't think there should be a referendum for the budgets.
Okay, let's go around the table then. Councilor Fitzgerald.
I agree with the Charter Commission's recommendations that there should not be referendums for budgets.
Thank you. Deputy? Yep, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I think this is maybe something we should mark to come back to during the special meeting. I strongly agree with Councilor Carey, based off of what we heard some residents. I think one was an email that we read, and then one was, or a couple people that spoke. And I think they were like on both sides of the aisle, which I thought was interesting. But after hearing what you just said, I still do agree with Councilor Carey's recommendation, but after what you just said, I agree with that as well. So I think
We'll revisit?
yeah, I think we should revisit it. Mostly, more importantly, I know there's one resident in here right now in the crowd, but hopefully the folks that are listening and go back and listen, come to the meeting and give us your reasons why, because that's who we represent. It's not a decision, again, that should be taken lightly. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I do agree with you. People have the ability to vote for change, but there is part of me that says if we as a council decide that we need to go over a certain threshold, maybe it'll help keep departments in check, it'll keep us in check. Do we really want to go that far? Because now it's going to trigger a town vote. You know, there's a lot of positives, I think, on both sides. So I do think we should come back to it in the special meeting.
Yeah, I was looking at the recommendations of the Charter Review Commission myself. Back in 2020, when the charter was first being discussed, and then COVID hit, I suggested a 3%, but that's before inflation decided to skyrocket, so that's kind of hard to keep anything at 3%, but I agree with, we can revisit that next week. We'll have, hopefully we'll have Councilor Pendleton there as well. Councilor Carey?
I think you make a good point, Councilor King, and believe me, that my thought process was not to advocate at all. Like, hopefully, as a commission, we own this. I mean, we run on this. This is why people elect us. And as you all know, I feel very strongly about our budget. But I also was trying to make sure that, you know, we put in some parameter, because I am concerned about, you know, amounts that just far exceed what people can handle.
Counselor Balboni?
Yeah, I'm all for a referendum. The percentage obviously is probably up the most part that I would want to debate. It seems that the most residents actually came out and actually spoke about this is something we should definitely consider a little more deeply. Being with what Mr. Paterna said was that they had a whole lot of meetings, 17 I believe it was, that people could have come to speak about, and it seems like that's what the most people that did actually bother to show up spoke about.
Yeah, I believe.
So I think it's something we should really
Like 3 or 4
consider.
people.
Right. Like I said, out of the, how many that showed up, I think 4 is probably most of them.
But you're okay with revisiting at the special meeting
Oh,
to
of
talk about?
course,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not a financier, so I would lend, I trust, I'm so grateful that we have so many smart people on this council who know numbers. But I'm a resident, I'm a homeowner, I pay taxes, I have bills, everything seems to be going up. I like the idea that Councilor King had suggested that this is why we're elected. At the same time, I don't mind setting a ceiling for not just, because we're not just making a decision for us, we're planning for the future, right? This is the charter. And it's good to have some boundaries that would force parts of the town of which we have no control over to keep their budgets tight as well, because it affects the whole number. So I like the way we can have a blended way to where if the Board of Education goes with this much, and then the town gets this much, that it's lesser combined together. And if it's over 5.5%, then let the people choose, and they can't say that we're spending all their money because it's all of our choices. So I think it's not a bad thing to do to have that limitation and to have a ceiling for us to do that, to trigger that. And yet I agree with most everything that's been said here now, so it'll be an interesting meeting next week.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Pugansky?
By the time it gets to me, there's nothing left to say.
We'll start it next time.
I don't think we're necessarily abdicating our duty if we send it to referendum with a threshold on it. I think we're just at that, we have to do our job in order for it even to get to that point anyway, right? We have to go through the budgets, and depending on what's presented to us, what we can pare back, or depending on the year and what's going on economically at that point in time, things may be out of balance. I don't think it's a bad idea that if it gets to a certain level, as has been said, that the town then has an opportunity to say, yeah, we agree with what you've come, the conclusion you've come to, we've got your back on this one, rather than us just saying, yeah, well, this is it, and rubber stamping it and moving on. And then waiting for the town to then decide whether they want to reelect us or not after we've already spent their money. And they didn't get a chance to approve that tax increase, so.
Be a good discussion next week. Okay. The 712, exemption for special revenue recreation fund. Special revenue recreation fund can lapse. I'm a little confused on this one, Mr. Maniscalco. I think you and I talked about it, but I was still confused.
Sure. So, I think this was requested by an employee that was here a while ago and was a bit confused as to the way special revenues funds worked. And we went back and did some research. I was asked to do some research for the Charter Revision Commission on this item, and special revenue funds do lapse, and they're able to go forward with it. So I think it's the way it was proposed, I think is not a problem.
So, and it states here, so the final is it can lapse. So it looks like it says this does not need to be put in the charter. So the question is, do we agree with the commission saying it does not need to be in the charter? Yes. Okay, we're all in agreement, okay. 713, remove and create ordinance. It has to do with the procurement again. So we agree with 713. It's funny how it's in all those places, huh? Okay, so same thing, remove and create ordinance, agree, agree. 16, okay, 16. Update the way payments can be made. The verbiage, it says final, add verbiage, as required by statutory authority and law. Add that, we are all in agreement? Good. Section 801, public notification, best ways and means of the times, add verbiage as required by statutory authority and law, add that to the charter. Okay. 802, procurement again, so we agree with that. And now we're down to new. Make the whole charter gender neutral. It was a project that was done 5 years ago by the Girl Scouts. Do we want to change the entire charter to have every single section as a question to the public on the ballot? That means it's going to be what, like a 20-page ballot? I don't know how it works for the ballots. I know the registrars are worried about the size of the ballot.
Yeah, for the ballot, you'd have a version of the charter available in the town clerk's office that's basically revised. And, you know, I think you have to publish the whole charter. You do have to do that.
Okay.
But you don't have to have the entire charter on the ballot. You just have where we make the charter revisions that are published and in the town clerk's office as recommended by the town council. And then that's a yes or no vote.
So it's not, each section does not have to be on the ballot.
Correct. Correct.
So it's, okay. Okay, that was my misunderstandings. I thought when Manchester did theirs, I thought when I saw it in the paper, when they did theirs last year or the year before, they had a
You're going to
breakout.
have to publish in the paper the whole charter. All the changes, with all the changes,
With
right?
the changes,
Yeah,
not
right.
the original.
But the ballot itself is not going to have the entire charter on there with all the changes.
It's just going to say,
Just
do you
gonna
approve
right.
the ballot or the
The
charter?
the
change?
alternative is you can do, are we going to change all these items and list all the items? I don't think that is going to get you a decent vote. You know, I don't think it's going to get you much turnout. I think you better just get something that says, here's the new charter. It's going to be published in the paper. It's going to be available in the town clerk's office, probably available online, right? You can see all the changes, but the ballot itself is going to be, you know, you're going to vote on it, right? And this is going to be what we're voting on at
Just
the ballot.
one
question. Is the town charter to be revised in accordance with the town council's resolution dated,
Okay.
whatever?
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Are we on the
Yes.
May okay. Yes, I am in agreement with changing the verbiage. As a female on the town council.
Deputy Mayor? I'll come back.
I got no issue with it. I don't understand. How does it currently look and how will it look, I guess? But I don't have any issue, like, is it gonna say, he/her? Like, what does that look like, I guess, Counselor or Attorney Corella? Do we know, like,
I'm going to have to, I was just talking with Mike, the town manager, about how to come back for your special meeting with this. I think what needs to be done based on this discussion tonight is give you a set, basically a whole new charter redlined with what the changes are. There are some sections here where there's no changes being made. You don't need to go and continue to rehash that. That doesn't need to be discussed any further. There's sections that you need to discuss more. There are sections that you've agreed to have the change made. And so I think town manager and I were just talking about was giving you a version of the entire charter that you can read through and see where all these changes are being made. And then if you want to discuss them more or make further revisions at your special meeting and then at your ultimate vote on it at the next regular meeting, you'll have that in front of you. I think it's probably easier than going through these pages.
Counselor King, I skipped over you, but we're on the gender neutral. Are you?
Yeah.
The gender neutral?
See what it looked like.
That's what I said.
Had one opinion one way or the other.
Okay. And we'll discuss that next meeting anyway, but I'm just.
Waited till the end, and now you want to give us a chart of the red line? You waited till we got done all of this, and now you want to red line?
Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Hourly.
Oh, it's not that bad.
So I guess I'll recommend again that we come back to it, and I don't really have any issue with it. I just want to see what it looks like, and, you know.
Okay, well, instead of going down through them, we'll just
We're gonna say
come
like
back. at the-
counselor, town manager, I don't know how many instances in here that,
I know there was one section that had a whole bunch of, where it was he, changing it to them, and to me, them seems more plural than, so that's where I like I said, like you said, I think seeing it in red with the words might give a little bit, make it reading better.
sure, let's pin it.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
If
Counselor.
we could go for grammatically correct and use titles instead of he or she, it's the town manager, the park director, or whatever it is, would be the title, the position, and the rest would, he, we, she, them is all where it's grammatically appropriate.
Yeah, but seeing that red line, I think it might be better.
I just have a question. Is there a red line, like, it's been redlined?
No, it's not.
Okay. Oh,
That's,
you're going to do that, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll have that for the special meeting, is that the goal?
When is your special meeting?
next Monday.
Sure, yeah.
Nice.
I know, to see it.
Just to clarify, you said the things that aren't going to be changed, you're not going to put on there. It's going to be the changes only, right? Because we just discussed line items that say no change recommendation. We don't want to be redundant.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You said that.
Right,
Yeah.
so the idea is to give you a set of
So we only see
revisions
the
now
things
that you
based off our discussion
essentially
tonight.
agreed to tonight.
Yeah.
Until tonight, I didn't know what you would be
Yeah.
considering, not considering.
Right.
Right, so now that that's kind of done and discussed, I can give you something that you can actually chew on at your special meeting, review, and then send back to the charter revision with any recommendations. You're not wedded to these revisions. You still have the opportunity to discuss them, revise them, make further recommendations as you see it as a whole picture and see the whole charter together. I think it makes a lot more sense when you read it through the charter.
Great,
Okay, thank you. Yep.
thank you. And there are a couple of items here that are not charter numbers, line 57, 58, and 59, not pertinent to the charter. One of them is tax protection for senior citizens within the town charter. It's not pertinent to the charter. This is per the commission's recommendation. Tax revaluation, not pertinent to the town charter. This cannot be placed in the town charter. And display history of town hall, not pertinent to the town charter. See, we got through 59 lines, Counselor King. Right? Okay, not bad, right? Okay, we'll be back next Monday. And moving on to item 14, passage of ordinance. Having none. Item 15, public input for any matter that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone for item 15, public input, not on the agenda? Seeing none, moving on. Item 16, communications from the council. Councilor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one, and I thought it was going to come up earlier, but the Social Justice Day, they actually pushed it forward, so on March 22nd. Yes, March 22nd, 2025. As well as I just want to say to all of you who are wondering about the Super Bowl last Sunday, for all of you Eagles fans and Patriot fans that wanted us to beat Patrick Mahomes in such a soundly way, you're welcome. Thank you.
I was happy.
I told you,
Counselor
I
Valvo.
was an Eagles fan for one night. That was it.
Yes, I actually was going to make that same comment because I noticed your beautiful ring.
Going to be reimbursed.
And actually, being a Dallas Cowboys fan, it was hard to root for either team, but rooting against someone that's won twice in a row, and I've had enough of that, and even the refs couldn't make that game go the wrong way. Congratulations to you and Counselor Carey, both Eagles fans.
Counselor Baginski?
Thanks. I just wanted to, so it didn't get forgotten, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Hildred's Farm for providing those cool calendars in our packets this week. So, thank you very much.
Got the nice pictures of the nice sheep.
I love all the little
Little
effects and
tidbits.
stuff in
Yeah.
every date, so it's kind
They're
of cool.
great. Counselor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that it was nice tonight, working together. It was nice. I enjoyed that. Thank you. It was a good meeting.
Okay, moving on, item 17, executive session, having none. Item 18, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, hearing none.